Hi all, it's Mary Harper with the Florida Association for the Education of Young Children, and I am Public Policy Chair, and I'm here to bring you Legislative Watch number 3, quick vodcast to orient you to the Legislative Watch, which is the written version that we send each week. Keep you kind of poised on what's happening in the legislature. Right now there's not a whole lot happening, so I won't have too much to report. It will be fairly similar to what you heard last week. The main reason that we do this is to promote our public policy platform so that it promotes the quality of early childhood programs, the work, compensation, and professionalization of early childhood educators, and access and funding to statewide early childhood programs and systems, and the intent to protect our state's most valuable commodity asset and future young children. Today I'm going to talk about some of the things that came up. One was the early learning workshop that's taken place over a couple of weeks. It started at the ELAC meeting, or follow-up from an ELAC meeting, and several legislators in the House Education Committee were asked to go out and visit ELCs in their districts and really get to understand early learning coalitions and what they do and their function and what kinds of changes might be proposed as a result of the work with which they engage. Several insights have been shared. Number 1 is governance, number 2 accountability, number 3 transparency, and number 4 is funding. And basically the skinny is there will be a creation of the Division of Early Learning under the Department of Education, and that for continuity of existing early learning coalitions, no new coalitions, nor will consolidation take place. And then they're going to talk about accountability, and basically that's your standard contract with providers, child eligibility criteria, pre-post assessments for children, standard monitoring tools, and I believe that is for programs, clear delineation of responsibilities for the state, for early learning coalitions, and for providers. Further, they'll help delineate definitions that have been ambiguous in the past, and further they'll address health and safety issues. The third, of course, is transparency, and having with less bureaucratic oversight under one organization would enhance transparency. And of course the last area is funding. They'll be looking at child payment rates, which haven't been increased in many, many years, and also gold seal rates, which have remained flat, and also national initiatives and attention, and to see if they're to gauge what we're doing with the shifting climate nationally. Also reported is that ELLIS is on hold again until 2014. The system's a lot more elaborate and a lot more complicated than first anticipated, and there will be no decision to standardize quality investments or choose between a quality rating system and gold seal. So those items have been tabled for this session, but will still be upcoming discussions. Now I'm going to take us into our public policy platform, and I'm going to start with the promotion of quality early childhood programs. And as you know, in our public policy platform, we have a couple of areas with which we focus. Statewide program assessment, developmentally appropriate curriculum tied to universal state standards and appropriate assessments, promotion of accreditation and gold seal, and then of course appropriate ratios. Really, we don't have anything much to report this since last time I spoke with you. The VPK educational programs bill, Senate Bill 1624, has had no movement, and we're just waiting to hear more. You can read your Legislative Watch for a summary on it. It basically requires that the Department of Education develop and adopt performance standards for students in the VPK program that is age appropriate and assesses student learning growth, and that also any assessments given will be given in a student's primary language. And then further, we have the establishment of professional development systems. In this area, we like to focus on standardized competencies, professional development and training, and a registry that would monitor that, access of quality professional education experiences, scholarships, mentorship trainings, and a career ladder. And all of this is to establish a professional development system and supports for our professionals. And in this area, we're still seeing no movement on Senate and House Bill 198 and 0139, which are looking for minimum salaries for public school teachers. Reminder, this is not what Governor Scott has proposed is a $2,500 increase for public school teachers, but rather to look at the national average and average that with what Florida teachers are currently getting paid, and how can we make Florida a desirable place with which teachers could be recruited from other states based on salary types of things. The next area where we have seen a little bit of movement is increased access and funding to state early childhood programs and education. Under this area, we have voluntary pre-kindergarten with adequate compensation for degree teachers, school readiness, and health programs. And the first one is school readiness. We've seen no movement on Senate Bill 1722. Reminder, it is a placeholder and is identical to House Bill 5103 that was introduced last year. Basically, pre- and post-assessments, early learning coalitions, annual contract with school readiness, early learning coalitions to operate within spending caps, reduction in services to school-age children, and processes for investigation of fraud and overpayment. Sounds very similar to what was going on in the early learning workshop. So just be poised for some movement on that at some point, just none yet. And then our last thing with which we have seen a little movement is the dramatically expanding health coverage to underserved children. Senate Bill 54-8 and House Bill 68-9 have passed through their first committees. And while nothing's been determined yet, it looks as if this health care coverage expansion is well on its way through some committees. With that said, that's all I've got this week. So I'll be looking forward to talking with you next week. Be watching again for legislative alerts in the event anything happens between the time I talk to you now and the time I talk to you next week. And be watching the FLA EYC Legislative Watch for further details. Thanks so much.